Anybody know what we're going to talk about tonight? That's right. We're going to talk about your appearance. Do you really think that if you show up to work looking like you've been out all night shooting heroin in your eyeballs, some guy's going to step up to you and say, "Hey kid, you want to run some work for me? I got a $5 million project and I could really use a guy like you." Don't kid yourself. Tonight, we're going to talk about your appearance. If you want a professional job and you want a professional income, you got to look like a professional. All right, look, I get it. You're young. You got to look cool to impress the chicks. And if you're a chick, you got to look cool to impress the guys. I was young once. Here's a picture to prove it. The clothes I'm wearing in that picture are pretty much the clothes I wore to work back then. And I really didn't have any trouble finding work as a foreman because I was good. I was good at what I did. But I'll tell you a little story. By the time I was in my early 30s, I was working for, at that time, one of the top 10 largest electrical contractors in the nation and running work for them. Every time I showed up to start a new project, I had to go through this little routine, and I knew it was going to happen, and you know, at the time I even enjoyed it. So I'd show up on site and introduce myself to the general contractor superintendent, and just about every time he would spin around after meeting me, head right back to his office, and he'd get on the phone and he'd call my office. And he'd say, "Hello, electrical office, who is this burned out hippie you sent out here to my project? You need to get a real foreman out here because this guy ain't gonna cut it." And, you know, they would tell him, "Hey, you know, that is a real foreman, you know, he's good and he does a good job and we're not trading him out." You know, they always stuck up for me because I made them money. And so then the next thing he would do is ride my ass. He'd ride my ass and do everything he could to find some reason why he needed to get me off his project. Usually within about a week, I would do something to save his ass. And then he'd go, wow. And maybe another week later or so, I'd save his ass real good again. And then he'd go, wow, you know, maybe this guy's not so bad after all. And we'd go along through our project, and then, you know, just about every time at the end of the job, then he'd go back in his office and call my office again and tell him, you know, next project I have, I want Dennis to come out and run it. So it was this game I had to play, and I had to play it every time because of my appearance and my, you know, mannerisms. So early on in my late 20s, I guess, my hair started turning gray, and by my early 30s, it was mostly gray. And I don't know if you know anything about gray hair, probably not, but it doesn't behave itself very well. I'd comb it right, it'd go left, and I'd be constantly fighting with it. And one day I just went into the barber shop and I said, you know, cut it off, just cut it all off. Tired of dealing with it. So a week earlier, when I had long hair, I could be out on a job site having a discussion with some professionals and state an absolute fact. And they'd all look at me like I was a kook or something. And as soon as I got my hair cut short and I went out on that job site and started talking to them, they started leaning in and listening and wanting to hear my opinion about things like I was their wise old grandpa or something, you know. It was crazy. It was almost just like night and day. 1 week earlier, you know, I was a kook. 1 week later, after the haircut, and I was full of wisdom, and they couldn't wait to hear what I had to say. So, you know, appearance matters. Appearance really matters. And especially if you want to be invited into a group of professionals. And believe me, you want to be invited into that group. because that's where the money is, and that's what this is all about. Look, if you're going to go to work every day and work your butt off, you might as well make as much money doing it as you can, right? So, you know, do you want to look like a rock star, or do you want to look like a professional and make good money in the construction? It's that important. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take that dirty old banged up hard hat you got with all the fancy stickers all over it, and I want you to put it in your garage, or put it in your office, or have it bronzed and put it in the living room if you want. But quit wearing it. Go get yourself a nice white hard hat. I say white because that's what the professional people wear. That's what the engineers wear. That's what the architects wear. That's what the superintendents wear normally. That's what the project managers wear. The majority of them. A clean one. If you're required to put stickers on it, put them on neat, and only put the stickers on there that you're required to put on it. You know, leave the Budweiser stickers at home, put them on your garage wall or wherever else you want to put them, but don't put them on your hard hat. Keep it clean and neat. Go to the Salvation Army. Buy yourself some button-up shirts. These are cheap. I buy all my work shirts at the Salvation Army. I'm not going to go to a fancy store and spend a bunch of money on a shirt I'm going to go out and sweat in all day and roll around in the dirt. Most of the shirts I get from the Salvation Army are brand new. Women like to buy their husbands' clothes, and husbands don't like to wear them, so they sit in the closet until somebody takes them to the Salvation Army. And I buy them for $2.77. For that much, it gets too dirty, I'll use it for a rag to polish my truck. Get some button-up shirts with a collar so you look like the professional people. I know, your buddies are going to rib you a little bit for wearing a shirt with a collar on it, but believe me, they're going to get over it when you get promoted to be their boss. So just do what I'm telling you to do here. Get yourself a nice clean vest. Take that dirty, stinking rag you've been wearing around for the last 2 years and burn it. Get yourself a nice one. Keep it nice. Wash it once in a while. Jeans, everybody knows you work for a living, but keep them clean. Don't wear anything torn or ripped up. If they have big, huge stains on them, use them for cutting the grass on the weekend. Get yourself some decent jeans. You can buy those at the Salvation Army too. If your boots have holes in them, get some boots that don't have holes in them. Keep them oiled. They'll look nice and last a long time. Just keep them looking good. If you're a female, because females are allowed in this club too, personally, you know, I welcome women to the construction industry. We've been, you know, running with half of our available workforce for too long. I've had some excellent women working for me, and there is no reason why a woman can't be an outstanding foreman. But dress professionally. You're not there to win any, you know, glamour awards. Just keep it clean, keep it professional, and keep it, you know, looking like a construction site. If I could go back and talk to myself, I know that I could have elevated my career 10 years earlier if I would have just cleaned up my act a little bit sooner. That's how important it is. We need to get you looking like a professional because we want you to start associating with those professionals. And if you look like them, they're going to welcome you into their circle. Once you're in that circle, you're going to meet other people who are going to help elevate your career quickly. And if you're asking me how you can elevate your career and your income, it all starts right here. It's that serious. So I hope you'll take me serious. Once you look like you're part of their club, they're going to accept you as part of their club. That's going to accelerate your career quickly. All right, that's my first tip. Couple days I'll make a new video. We'll talk about my second tip. Thanks for listening.